are at our home on Harvard Avenue in Salt Lake City. It's 1572 East Harvard Avenue. This probably, maybe, I don't know, it's hard to tell, but it could be one of my favorite homes that we've ever done. It is a craftsman style home, and some of the things that I love about craftsman style homes are the woodwork.
This is the oldest home we've done. It's my favorite. Jenny likes to copy me and say it's her favorite, but I started it. I said it's my favorite first. What I like about this house is the history.
I love this home for a lot of reasons. One of the things that I love the most is this is an area that I grew up in, so it's very close to my heart. I have many friends who grew up here with me, whose parents still live here. This is so historically rich. We had just started discussing kind of what we would call ourselves, and I was like, I don't know, like my Flippin Fam.
Brooklyn said, well, what about my Flippin Fam? And I said, what? Our Flippin? And we work as a family doing this.
We also here behind us.
So we want to do something.
Some of the elements of the landscape.
So all of this from here over will have to.
On Harvard Avenue in Salt Lake City. This is a 1915 Craftsman. It's a gorgeous old home. The home is in the Harvard-Yale area of Salt Lake, one of the oldest neighborhoods in Salt Lake and one of the most expensive neighborhoods. Come on in. Gorgeous Craftsman home.
When we were originally laying out this kitchen with our architect, we were going to replace these windows, bump them up so you could have a counter underneath it and have the sink be right by the window so you have that nice light coming into your kitchen. But since the city told us we cannot replace them, we've had to redo the kitchen layout a few times just because we want it to be as functional as possible.
So far we've looked for buried treasure in the homes and we've never found any money, minus maybe a quarter, dime, sometimes a penny. Oh, thanks, Dave.
These ceilings are about 7 feet right now. As you can see, a lot of this basement is taken up with a shelf. This block that sits right here, that's technically part of the foundation. The whole front of the house is shelf. So by digging that out, we're going to gain about 400 square feet.
This window was used for when the coal was delivered, and you can see the slope here in the concrete. They'd drop it in here and the coal would run down and they would have the coal just stacked up here to heat their homes.
At the Harvard House today, we are excavating the shelf in the basement. And for those of you who don't have basements or don't know what a shelf basement is, it's pretty much that they didn't dig the basement out all the way. There's just a small, livable area, and it's just dirt with concrete on top of it. So what we are doing is digging it out so the basement is nothing but livable space.
These columns right here are supported on top of the shelf. And when the shelf goes away, we'll have to put in new columns to support this beam right here.
This house was built in 1915. That's 104 years ago. And if you think back to 1915, that was a time when women were working, or not really working, well, it was working. It is hard work to be a mom at home, but they were stay-at-home moms. They had no rights to vote. They didn't drive. They weren't allowed to wear pants, which today is so much different, and I wouldn't even be able to have the job that I have today.
I'm liking it. There's a lot going on. We've got demo going on upstairs. There's excavating going on downstairs. All kinds of good stuff going on.
Digging a foot down deeper because the basements in the olden days weren't very tall. So if you're over 6 foot, you kind of feel crammed. So it's going to be a lot more space and a lot more height. And you can see it's kind of a big process. They have to scoop up the dirt with shovels, and they put it on a conveyor belt, and then they just wheel away the dirt.
A lot of professional couples like this area, and the schools are great, so it wouldn't surprise me also to see a family, especially once we dig out that basement and have 2 more bedrooms, a nice family room, laundry, and the mechanical area.
This is the original lath and plaster. Instead of sheetrock, these walls had this board, which was called a lath. And then you can see in the gaps here, and then behind the thermostat is the plaster that went with it. These were all nailed in individually, very time consuming. You can see each one of these nail holes here represented one piece of lath, and then it was plastered on top of that.
Yeah, we are painting it.
I did meet my dad the first time I was on my 50th birthday, so it's a little over a year ago. I looked for him for 32 years, so it was kind of a miracle, and just so many things had to fall into place to find him. But we are like 2 peas in a pod. It's just been really amazing to see the connection that we have and the bond that we've formed and the love that we have for each other.
You guys just discovered each other a year ago. Bob, what was that like to find out you had a daughter after 50 years?
Quite a shock. I'm glad that it happened, but I had no idea this woman existed.
It was a definite dream come true and almost a surreal moment. I wondered about him all my life, and I had seen a few pictures of him before we met, but to actually see him face to face, to have him hug me, I broke down and cried. I just was really shaky. It's funny because I wanted him to like me so much. I was like, I just really want him to like me.
It's hard to imagine that many years passed and the feeling of love.
The 32 years that I spent looking for you, I always had this feeling that I would find you someday. I think it was good because at the time I met him, he was 81 years old, and he never knew about me. So this was probably one of the biggest shocks of his life, and I just wanted it to be good for him.
I got to tell you, if everybody can be as happy as I am right now, then I wish every family could get together.
Yeah, family's important.
Don't mind me, guys. When I get older, I get a little cry. I'm proud of this lady.
Thanks, Pop.
I can text my mom right now and kind of run it by her, and then I can get back with you in just a little bit. I am in charge this week as my parents are both in Cabo and they didn't choose to take me with them, those rude heads. But we are here. The basement has all been dug out. The floor has been put in. The framing is all in. Electrical and plumbing are happening now, as well as the insulation. This house should go on the market probably the end of June, beginning of July, but there has been a lot of progress since you guys last saw it.
One thing about these flippin' old houses is they're not perfect. And in this case, we've got a floor that has a 1-inch drop between the left side of where the fridge is going in and the right side of where the fridge is going in. To show you, I can put the tape on the floor, not move it, just let go of it, and you'll see it's gonna roll from one side to the other by itself. Not just yet.
So the idea here with our landscape is to follow the symmetry of the front of the house, meaning the doors in the middle, on the right and the left are symmetrical doors. So on the right and left of the stairs going to the porch, we want to keep the symmetry. They have the Japanese maple, they have a hydrangea, and a taller tree on the other side.
The important thing to keep in mind when restoring old millworks and woodworks in your antique homes is when you are trying to repaint or strip paint, paint prep is an imperative. It is absolutely necessary.
As we get to the final stages of the house, we go around and kind of critique the job, and if we see anything that needs to be repaired, we mark it with blue tape. And you'd be surprised, just looking at this room, it looks amazing, but as you get up close, you start to see the little flaws. And it's not that they're a bad painter or anything, it's just standard in jobs that have to have little touch-ups to make it perfect and to meet my requirements, and I'm pretty picky.
Once the carpet's installed, you can see the door doesn't have any gap between the bottom of the door and the carpet. So the door has to come off, the bottom has to be cut down, and then the door put back on. So there's clearance between the bottom of the door and the carpet.
At the kitchen in the Craftsman house, we have had a few challenges with the layout. This house is a part of the historical district in Salt Lake, so they wouldn't allow us to change any windows. Originally, we were going to have a set of lower cabinets over there and have the sink be below the window, but we couldn't raise up the window to put the sink there. So we incorporated this really large island where the sink and the dishwasher are going to be now. Also on these shelves up here, we have some open shelves in between the two upper cabinets to kind of modernize it and bring it up to date, still keep that classic look. We also decided to put in the soapstone counters because we felt it was a really nice contrast between the white cabinets, and you can't see it right now, but we have really pretty flooring down, so we just think that the soapstone counters are going to be a great contrast. I'm struggling with words today.
In 1915, when this house was built, most people didn't even own a car. So to have a garage was really a luxury thing. And this garage, the original garage here, was probably built sometime in the 40s. It was in such rough shape, we just had to tear it down, build a new one.
We started building this house in 2005. I had bought the lot in 1998 and just needed to wait till the timing was right.
When I saw this house, I was not just impressed with the house, but really impressed with what Jenny had done herself to build a lot of it.
I decided that the easiest and best way for me to get this house built was to build it myself. And so that's what I did. The girls got to help with us, and we did everything from excavating to forming and pouring the footings.
Here's a woman who ran an excavator, dug the hole for her basement, and then poured the footings. You know, I mean, 50 years ago, you didn't see women running excavators. There's people like Jenny who really changed that for women.
I guess I was always, I guess you could call it, blessed with the can-do attitude, and was raised to believe that the only thing that would stop me is myself. So I set out on a journey that I could do this. I could be an owner contractor and build my own home. It was kind of unusual, I guess, but women can do these things, and I learned a lot. I didn't know everything, of course. It was a learning lesson, but I had a lot of fun, and I probably saved close to $150,000.
There's pros and cons of a small town. I've learned to really love it here, but at first I thought, I don't know what it's going to be like moving to Heber, but it was great. And then I found out Jenny was from Salt Lake, so it wasn't like I was dating this small town girl.
Typically when we are designing houses, Jenny will tell me that she has an overall theme in mind. So she'll say, I want this house to be modern or contemporary or classic or craftsman or whatever it is. And she'll have pretty much everything design-wise laid out. Well, the idea laid out. And then I kind of just get free reign to go pick within budget what I want. And I really just am a fan of the internet.
I go to Westminster College in Salt Lake City. I decided to take a little bit of time off of school, so I'm now in my last year. I'm studying neuroscience, and I'm a little up in the air about what I want to do with that, if I want to further my education or go straight into research, but eventually do want to do something within the field of neuroscience research.
There's not really a formula for what we do. It's mostly that Jenny will go to the house and try to pick up what she thinks will work best there.
Hey everybody, this isn't as easy as it looks.
Sometimes we try to push it and like take an old home and make it more of a modern home, but typically we try to keep the integrity and the character of the house the same, because that's a part of the charm of the old neighborhoods of Salt Lake City, is that they are very historically rich, and so we try to keep the character of the home.
This past season, going back into skeleton, I was just hoping to not die, you know, make it down the track. Sometimes flying face first at 80 miles per hour seems like kind of daunting, so just getting back into the motion of doing it was my goal, and now I'm hoping to get back into training more and focusing more on the athletics of it.
We all have our different ideas of what we want to do. Dave once in a while has some ideas, but he leaves that up to Brooklyn and me to do something that we want to do. So Brooklyn and I usually do a lot of the layouts. So we're not the flippers that put what we call lipstick on a pig. We actually go in and we create it from the exterior walls inside with lots of love and a passion for saving these old homes and making them places that people would want to move into. Every home has its own set of challenges. This home required a lot more work than some of the homes we do, because this home had a shelf basement and only partially dugout area. So we spent a lot of time digging and digging and digging and hauling dirt out on a conveyor belt and putting it into a truck and carrying it away so that this actually could be the full 3,038 square feet and usable.
We've kept some of the history by restoring the windows. None of these old windows work in these old houses, but every window in this house now works. It functions. It's got the original glass that's 104 years old. It's that cool wavy pattern that everybody loves.
One of the things about these older areas is the streets are very small and narrow, so getting big concrete trucks or big dumpsters in here is quite a challenge, because we're typically only one car can go down the street because there's always a car parked on the side. So that's always a big challenge. And where we had to dig out the basement, we were constantly just bringing in new dumpsters and taking away old dumpsters of dirt. So it was challenging having to work in such a small neighborhood and trying to get the neighbors to cooperate with all the big machinery always being around.
I think the typical person that would like this home appreciates the historic aspect of the neighborhood, the historic aspect of the home. This home is 104 years old, but as you walk through it, other than the details that we've tried to keep historically accurate, it's got a new feel to it. The basement's been dug out and it's 8 feet.
Out of everybody in the family, I'm the least hands-on with the projects, but in the last few projects that we've done, I've actually helped out with some of the real estate photography.
If you want to call us flippers, we're like flippers that renovate. We go in and we really get down to the bones of the house and we start over. And we make it so you're not buying Pandora's box, like you're wondering what's behind these walls. That is kind of scary, you think about it. You can cosmetically change a home to look beautiful without changing the guts of a home, so to speak.
We're 2 blocks east of where they did the filming for Touched by an Angel. There's some beautiful homes on this street.
I know that out of all the houses, this is the house that I would buy. This is my favorite, and I just think that a lot of people really love this neighborhood and would do just about anything to get to be able to live here.
Everything about the layout, we've done the tapered columns, we've done the bookcases. Those are all things that were part of a craftsman style home because it mattered to people to have those details back then. It was part of what represented a rich, luxurious home, and that's what we've recreated, is a rich, luxurious home.
Between the natural light and the really bright colors of paint, it is so bright and open, and it makes you just want to relax, and it's very calming in the house, and I think that is one of the best things about this house.
It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful home, and I think from 3 bedrooms and 1 bath to 4 bedrooms and 3 full baths, wow, that's the place you can call home.